In Henry Gates' writing Race and the Difference It Makes, his main argument is that the study of literature has defined the structure of racial populations in society as a product of human knowledge.
So the first key issue in Gates' text that I'm going to discuss is regarding the understanding of different types of literature. While speaking about the understanding and comprehension of different types of literature, Gates states, quote, "We must also understand how certain forms of difference in the languages we employ to define those supposed differences not only reinforce each other, but tend to create and maintain each other." The argument that Gates is trying to reinforce in this excerpt is that no equality can be found before there's a comprehensive breakdown of each different form of literature. Without an effort to understand the differences of what Gates considers, quote, black and, quote, white literature, the supposed differences between them will only continue to alienate themselves without any real understanding from either side. This closely relates to our primary film, District 9, in relation to the understandings of the prawns by the humans. Upon the arrival of the mothership, there is widespread confusion and panic among the humans as they wonder if the alien ship presents a threat or if they are hovering over Johannesburg by mistake. Once a piece of the mothership falls off, they confirm that the ship is there by mistake, and the South Africans create a slum for the prawns to live in. But after nearly 20 years of the prawns living in the slums with constant violence and protest from both the prawns and the humans, there is no attempt from the humans to understand what has led to this new race being stranded on Earth. Despite there not being a major language barrier between the MNU agents and the prawns, there is no conceded effort to understand their purpose. As Gates argued in his writing, a lack of effort to understand the differences between, in this case, two different species will only lead to differences that are perpetuated and reinforced with no chance of reconciliation.
Secondly, in the critical text, Gates presents a clear argument that white dominance is shown in the way literature was used as a tool in determining one's humanity. Henry Gates explains the oral examination the young African girl had to go through in order to get her poetry published to ultimately reveal the dominance the white race had over the black race. A committee of white elite Boston men, what Gates called the most respectable characters in Boston, examined Phyllis's ability to speak proper English and recite key passages from text in order to prove that her poetry in fact was written by herself. Gates proposes the questions: why had this august group been assembled? Why had it seemed fit to summon this young African girl, scarcely 18 years old, before it? The whites believed their ability to read and write literature is what defined them as humans. Therefore, the Africans were not considered humans, but rather slaves due to their lack of knowledge. This idea that Gates argues explains why Phyllis's poetry had to be tested and approved by white elite. This idea can be related back to the film District 9, with the dominance that the South Africans claimed to have over the prawns. Similar to Gates' description of how the whites treated the blacks as non-human, the film shows the white Africans treating the prawns as non-human. This is seen in the way they enclose the prawns behind a barbed wire fence and bribe them with cat food. This animalistic treatment of the prawns shows how they were not considered human by the South Africans, but rather aliens.